You have been lied to about what women really want, and those lies are keeping you trapped in cycles of rejection and disappointment. Friedrich Nietzsche discovered about human nature and authentic connection. Most relationship advice treats you like a weak person who needs to beg for love, but Nietzsche understood something different. That strength and authenticity attract far more than neediness and pretense ever could. In the next few minutes, you will discover why everything you think you know about relationships is wrong, and how embracing these uncomfortable truths can transform you into the kind of man that others naturally respect and desire to be around. Every day, you put on a performance. Without even realizing it, you smile when you feel like screaming. You agree when you want to argue. You pretend to be someone you think others want to see. Nietzsche called this our social mask, and he believed it was slowly killing our ability to form real connections. When you wear a mask long enough, you forget what your real face looks like. The person staring back at you in the mirror becomes a stranger. Most people spend their entire lives perfecting their social performance. They learn to say the right things at the right time. They master the art of small talk and polite conversation. But here's the brutal truth that Nietzsche understood. Every mask you wear creates distance between you and authentic relationships. This creates a cycle of loneliness even when surrounded by others. The courage to remove your mask is terrifying because it means risking rejection of who you truly are. But authentic relationships can only exist when two real people meet without their social armor. The question becomes, others who will love you for who you actually are. Society has programmed you to follow a relationship script that was written by someone else. Get married by 30, have kids by 35, buy a house with a white picket fence, and live happily ever after. Nietzsche saw this herd mentality as the enemy of authentic living and genuine connection. When you follow someone else's blueprint for love, you sacrifice your individual desires on the altar of social expectations. The result is relationships that look perfect from the outside, but feel empty on the inside. The herd tells you what love should look like, but never asks what love actually feels like for you. Maybe you thrive in unconventional partnerships. Maybe you need more space than society deems acceptable. Maybe your version of commitment looks different from the traditional model. Nietzsche believed that true individuals must create their own values rather than inherit them from the crowd. This means having the courage to define relationships on your own terms, even when others want versus what you think you should want. Stop asking yourself if your relationship meets society's standards and start asking if it meets your authentic needs. Nietzsche understood that following the crowd leads to mediocrity in all areas of life, including love. The path to extraordinary relationships begins when you stop caring about normal and start pursuing what genuinely fulfills your individual nature. They create their own meaning in relationships. Most people enter relationships looking for someone to complete them or fix their problems. Nietzsche would call this slave morality, depending on others for your sense of self-worth and happiness. The Bermensch approaches love from a position of strength, not weakness. They bring their whole self to the relationship, rather than seeking someone to fill their emptiness. Creating your own values in love means rejecting the idea that there is one right way to be in a relationship. Society teaches you to compete for the best partner, like collecting a trophy. The Bermensch understands that authentic connection comes from two whole people choosing to share their lives together. This means being selective about who deserves access to your energy and time. Quality over quantity becomes the guiding principle in all your relationships. The Bermensch does not compromise their core values to keep someone happy. They understand that a relationship built on pretense will eventually crumble under the weight of its own lies. Instead, they attract people who appreciate their authentic self and shared values. This approach may result in fewer relationships, but those connections will be deeper and more meaningful. The Bermensch chooses partners who enhance their life, rather than people who need to be saved or fixed. Amor fati means loving your fate, accepting everything that happens in your life, including the painful parts. Most people enter relationships trying to avoid suffering and disappointment. They want the good times without the struggles, the passion without the conflicts, the intimacy without the vulnerability. Nietzsche understood that this approach to love is fundamentally flawed because it denies the full reality of human connection. Real relationships include both joy and pain, both harmony and discord. When you practice amor fati in relationships, you stop trying to control or change your partner. You accept them completely, including their flaws and imperfections. This does not mean tolerating abuse or settling for less than you deserve. It means embracing the complexity of loving another human being with all their contradictions. Most relationship problems come from fighting against reality instead of accepting what is. The power of amor fati lies in its ability to transform your relationship with suffering. Instead of seeing conflicts as failures, you begin to see them as opportunities for deeper understanding. Every argument becomes a chance to know your partner better. Every challenge becomes a way to strengthen your bond. When you love your fate, you stop wasting energy on resentment and regret. You channel that energy into building something beautiful with the reality you have been given. Power in relationships is not about domination or control. It is about the dynamic interplay between two strong individuals. Nietzsche's will to power represents the drive to grow, create, and express your authentic self. In healthy relationships, this means both partners are constantly evolving and challenging each other to become better versions of themselves. Weak people try to diminish their partner to feel stronger. Strong people inspire their partner to reach new heights. The dance of power requires understanding that relationships thrive on tension and challenge. When both people are growing and pursuing their own goals, the relationship stays alive and dynamic. Stagnation kills passion faster than any external threat. This means supporting your partner's ambitions even when they make you uncomfortable. Identity, even when it would be easier to merge completely. Many people confuse submission with love and dominance with strength. Nietzsche would see this as a fundamental misunderstanding of healthy power dynamics. True power in relationships comes from two: respect rather than codependence, admiration rather than neediness, partnership rather than ownership. Being alone because they mistake solitude for loneliness, Nietzsche understood that the ability to be comfortable with yourself is the foundation of all meaningful relationships. When you cannot stand your own company, you will desperately cling to others for validation and entertainment. This neediness repels the very people you want to attract and creates relationships built on dependency rather than choice. Strong individuals enjoy their solitude because they have developed a rich inner life worth exploring. Solitude teaches you to distinguish between wanting someone and needing someone. When you are comfortable alone, your relationships become acts of choice rather than acts of desperation. You stop settling for mediocre connections because you would rather be alone than in bad company. This selectivity naturally attracts higher quality people who respect your standards and boundaries. People are drawn to those who seem complete within themselves rather than those who appear empty and seeking. The paradox is that the more comfortable you become with solitude, the more attractive you become to others. Independence is magnetic because it signals strength and self-awareness. When you enter relationships from a place of wholeness rather than emptiness, you bring value instead of taking it. Nietzsche believed that only those who can walk alone are worthy of walking with others. Master the art of enjoying your own company, and you will never again accept relationships that diminish your peace. Most people edit themselves in relationships. They show only the parts they think will be accepted and hide everything else. This selective presentation creates a false foundation that cannot support genuine intimacy. Nietzsche advocated for radical honesty about who you are, including your dark thoughts and uncomfortable truths. When you express your authentic self, you give others permission to do the same. This creates the possibility for real connection rather than surface-level pleasantries. Authentic self-expression requires courage because it opens you up to rejection and judgment. Many people prefer comfortable lies to difficult truths because honesty can be messy and unpredictable. But Nietzsche understood that only through authentic expression can you find people who truly appreciate your essence. When you hide parts of yourself, you rob others of the chance to love all of you. You also create internal tension by constantly monitoring and controlling your natural responses. The freedom that comes from authentic self-expression transforms your entire approach to relationships. You stop walking on eggshells and start speaking your truth with confidence. This does not mean being cruel or insensitive. It means being genuine about your thoughts and feelings. People respect honesty even when they disagree with your perspective. When you express yourself authentically, you attract relationships based on mutual understanding rather than mutual deception. The right people will love your authenticity. The wrong people will reveal themselves quickly. Resentment is the poison you drink, hoping someone else will suffer. Nietzsche identified resentment as one of the most destructive forces in human relationships because it keeps you trapped in the past while destroying your present happiness. When you hold grudges against past partners or current conflicts, you will carry that negative energy into every interaction. This creates a cycle where your bitterness attracts more situations to be bitter about. Breaking free from resentment is essential for building healthy connections. Most people use resentment as protection against future hurt, but it actually makes you more vulnerable to pain. When you approach relationships with defensive walls built from past wounds, you prevent genuine intimacy from developing. Nietzsche understood that resentment is a choice. You can decide to release the anger or continue feeding it. This does not mean forgetting what happened or trusting people who have proven untrustworthy. It means refusing to let someone else's actions control your emotional state. The antidote to resentment is taking responsibility for your own happiness and growth. Instead of blaming others for your relationship failures, focus on what you can learn and improve. Every difficult experience teaches you something valuable about yourself or what you want in future relationships. When you transform resentment into wisdom, you become stronger and more attractive to healthy partners. Nietzsche believed that what does not destroy you makes you stronger. This applies especially to recovering from relationship disappointments and betrayals. That relationships should make you happy. That finding the right person will solve your problems and complete your life. Nietzsche would call this external validation a form of weakness that leads to disappointment and codependency. When you base your relationship's value on external metrics like social approval or traditional milestones, you miss the deeper meaning that comes from personal fulfillment. Creating your own meaning means defining success in relationships according to your authentic values rather than society's expectations. Most people enter relationships seeking security, comfort, predictability, and social status. They want someone who fits into their life plan and makes them look good to others. This transactional approach to love reduces partners to commodities rather than treating them as unique individuals. Nietzsche believed that meaningful relationships emerge when two people create something together that neither could achieve alone. This requires moving beyond selfish desires to collaborative vision and shared purpose. Creating meaning in relationships means asking yourself what you want to build together rather than what you want to get from each other. Maybe your relationship's purpose is creative collaboration, intellectual growth, adventure, or service to others. When you define your own relationship values, you stop comparing your connection to others and start appreciating its unique qualities. This internal validation makes your relationship stronger because it does not depend on external approval for its worth. You become the author of your own love story. Nietzsche proposed a thought experiment that reveals the truth about your life. Choices. If you had to live your exact same life over and over again for eternity, would you choose it willingly? This eternal return test applies powerfully to relationships because it forces you to confront whether your current connection truly fulfills you, or if you are settling out of fear and convenience. Most people stay in mediocre relationships because they are afraid of being alone or starting over. The eternal return question cuts through these excuses and demands honest evaluation. When you apply this test to your relationship, ask yourself if you would choose this exact dynamic, these same conflicts, this particular person with all their flaws for all eternity. If the answer makes you uncomfortable, you have important work to do. Either you need to transform the relationship into something worth repeating, or you need the courage to end it and seek something better. The eternal return test eliminates the comfortable lies we tell ourselves about settling for less than we deserve. The beauty of this philosophical exercise is that it clarifies your true feelings about your relationship. You cannot hide behind hope that things will change or fear that you will not find better. You must evaluate what exists right now and decide if it meets your standards for a life worth living forever. This level of honesty creates either deeper commitment to improving your current relationship or the motivation to seek connections that pass the eternal return test Nietzsche's philosophy offers. A radical alternative to the weak approaches most people take toward relationships. Instead of seeking someone to complete you, focus on becoming complete within yourself. instead of following society's relationship script. Create your own values and meaning, instead of hiding behind masks and pretenses. Embrace authentic self-expression and genuine connection. The path to extraordinary relationships requires the courage to reject mediocrity and pursue what truly fulfills your individual nature. Are you brave enough to remove your social masks and build relationships based on authentic truth rather than comfortable lies? If this video challenged your thinking about love and connection, make sure to subscribe for more philosophical insights that will transform how you approach relationships and personal growth.